Welcome. In today's video, we're going to be doing a quick review on the Tozalazz 12V dual piston high output air compressor. We're going to go over what it comes with, the specs of it, and then give a little demonstration airing up a tire on the truck. So let's get into it. So the first thing we'll do is go over everything that comes with the compressor. It does come in a padded bag with carry handles. And inside of the bag, it comes with fittings, so you can air up an air mattress or, basketball, football, anything like that. A needle. It comes with a quick detach fitting for your valve stem that screws onto the end of the air hose. Comes with a 25-foot air hose with a quick disconnect and a gauge. And then it does come threaded, so you could thread this right onto your valve stem or thread in the quick detach chuck, just like this. So you can make it quick detach for the valve stems. This hose is 25 feet long also. And then here is the compressor itself with the handle. And it has a base included with it, so it can protect it in the snow or the mud or anything like that. Here is the nozzle on the end that connects to the hose. And then it comes with a 8-foot power cord with alligator clips to connect directly to your battery. Here is the dual pistons on it. And then it has an on-off switch in the back. So the air compressor is larger than your standard car air compressor. The dimensions of it are about 12 3/4 inches long, 6 inches wide, and at the piston from the base, it's about 9 to 9.5 inches tall. So it is larger, and it does come in at 23 pounds with everything. So the air hose and, all the accessories and the compressor. So it is slightly heavy for a rig, but I think with the power it has, it would be perfect for an off-road rig with larger tires like our Jeep or the truck. I have 35s on the truck and the Jeep at the moment, and as you guys will see in the demonstration, it airs up the tires fast. So I'm extremely happy with it. I think it's a good trade-off with how powerful it is for the size and weight of it. Especially when you go up to larger tires. Like if you have 33s, 35s, 37s, or 40s on a rig, this will easily be able to handle it, so you won't be halfway aired up and your compressor overheats or just quits on you. And what I like about it too is on the base, it has holes for either drainage, or I think those could be used for mounting it. So if you wanted to hard mount it in the back of your Jeep or like in a truck bed toolbox like what we might do, I think it'll be perfect. And then with the power cable, you can either, if your auxiliary battery is close within the 8 feet of the cord, you could just connect it so it's not hardwired on, or you could just chop these ends, do an inline fuse, and then hardwire it to your battery. But make sure when you are using this compressor that the vehicle is running, because it does draw some voltage, and it will work better with the vehicle running and constant, voltage from your alternator running to it. This air compressor pushes some serious air. At 0 PSI in the tire, it pushes 11.65 PSI all the way up to 30 PSI in the tire. Once it hits 30, it pushes 7 CFM, so it is extremely quick. And I think this compressor is a good candidate for those tire air up and air down systems where they have a hose going to each tire and then it has a gauge at the end, so you could evenly air down all 4 tires and evenly air up. I think that setup with this compressor would be perfect, and it should push more than enough air through all those lines so it could get all 4 tires aired up at the same time extremely quick. So while getting the air compressor hooked up for the air up test, I'll go over a couple reasons why I really like this compressor. The first one is the power cables. I like that they're 8 feet long and that they have the quick disconnects on the ends. The second one is the air up hose itself, or the air hose. I like that it's 25 feet long so you can easily reach any tires, and that it is a flat hose. It's not like those coiled up spiral hoses that easily get tangled up and kinked. So with this hose being 25 feet long, I could easily reach the back tire on the truck with more than enough hose to spare. And I also really like the air chuck for the quick disconnect on the valve stems. So you can easily connect it and, you know, air up, pull it off to check your tire pressure, because these gauges that are built in aren't always accurate. So I always keep a digital secondary gauge to pull off the air chuck and double check my tire pressure just to make sure I'm good to go. But now that we have the air hose pulled out and the connectors on the battery, I'll start up the truck and we will do our test for airing up the back tire. I did air down the back driver's side tire of the truck from 35 down to 8 psi for this test, which is, you know, kind of normal, I guess, off-roading or overlanding psi that at least we air down to. I know some people like kind of higher psis, but I really like the smooth ride and the grip that the tires give us at 8 psi. So I'm already aired down in the back. I have everything hooked up. We'll get the truck started and we'll get on with the test. And since we're on the subject of airing up and down, I'll show you the other tools that I use. This is just a tire pressure gauge that I got off Amazon for pretty cheap. I will have a link to it down in the description, along with this tool and the air compressor itself. So this one that I use for airing down, it's a gauge, and then it screws directly onto the valve stem. And then once that's screwed on nice and tight, you use this second part of it to pull out the valve stem core to completely let air out of the tire. And it is the quickest way that I have found out so far on airing down. Just completely removing the valve stem, pulling this valve back, letting out a ton of air, and then when it is done, I'll push it down to stop it, screw the valve stem back on, unscrew the tool, and we're good to go. So we're on to the final step, the air up test. Just to give you guys an idea, I will be airing up this 35 by 10.5 16-inch tire from 8 to 35 psi. I will be using the air chuck and the truck will be idling, so it is at full power for the air compressor. And to be honest with you, I will be pulling the chuck off occasionally just to double check the tire pressure in the process, so it won't be entirely accurate, but this will give you a ballpark idea on how quick it can air up a 35-inch tire. So we're gonna get the truck started, idled down, and then we'll get on with the test. All right, I'm sorry if it's a little loud for you guys, but it's an old diesel truck. So I'm gonna hook this up first, the quick disconnect onto the valve stem, and then I'll start the compressor and we'll get on with the test. The compressor itself is kind of loud too, but it's a dual piston air compressor, so I mean, I'm not really too surprised. I guess this whole setup with the old truck and the compressor is going to be a loud setup while airing up at the end of the trail. All right, I'll kind of keep an eye on it compared to the front tire too. I don't want to pull this off too many times because I want to try to keep the test as accurate as possible. But even if I'm over 35 psi at the end, if I just let it go, at least you guys will get an idea on how long it would take to get to that psi that's at least over 35. I think if I had a 4-hose setup to each tire, I think that would be an awesome air down and air up accessory, especially for a compressor this large. All right, I'll let it go a little more. I'll probably give it another 5-10 seconds, then I'll pull off the hose and double check it with the gauge. I'll get the gauge going. Pull that off. All right, it was already at 27 PSI within that time frame. So it went from 8 to 27 in however much time it's been so far. So I'll give it another, I'd say about another 10 to 15 seconds, and we'll double check it. I think with this air compressor, if you pick it up, you will definitely air up all of your friends at the end of the trail run or the overlanding trip. So I think right there, this compressor will give you a little bit of bragging rights at the end of the trail. All right, we'll go for another second. I'll start the gauge, pull it off. There we go. 36.5 PSI. So we're a pound and a half over, but we'll call it right there. All right, we will double check it. Yeah, 36.2. You guys can see that. I'll bring it up to the camera. 36.2. So I will figure out how long it took to air up in that time frame from 8 to 36.5. And I think this one is definitely faster than my other air compressor, and it's the fastest air compressor I have ever owned. And that right there, I think, is a successful test for the Tozalazz dual piston compressor. I think airing up from 8 to 36.2 PSI in however long, which I'll put over here for you guys, was a success over my compressor that I keep in the Jeep. Having the dual piston setup can help me air up extremely quick, especially once I get some big tires on this truck. And I really do like the 25-foot long hose that's flat, so it's not all coiled up and making a mess and getting tangled up in things. And the quick disconnect too on the end. And I do like the alligator clamps on the end of the 8-foot power cord, so you could connect it real quick, pull it off, pack it up, and keep rolling after a long weekend of wheeling and overlanding. And I will have links to my digital gauge, my air down tool, and the compressor down in the description below. So if you guys are interested, pick up one of each of those things and get going on the trail. And I think this would be a good solution if you are in need of a air compressor or wanting to upgrade the compressor you already have. So I'd say let's call it. I really appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye, you guys.